When you go back out to your garden to check on your caterpillars, there are a couple of different kinds of data we'll want to record in order to answer our research question. So I'm here in the experiment I set up earlier in Crystal Cove State Park to talk to you about how you can collect data in your gardens. If you remember from the last few sessions, you picked two different plants with some adaptation that varies between them, which you predicted might affect how many caterpillars birds would attack on those plants. We now want to go back to the same two plant types where you placed your caterpillars and collect some data. To help you keep track of all the caterpillars, let's look at each plant type one at a time and record the data for one plant species before moving on to the other. So for example, here in Crystal Cove, I wanted to compare plants with big leaves to plants with small leaves, so I placed my caterpillars on toyon and buckwheat. So I'm going to collect data on all my buckwheat caterpillars to start with. The first kind of data we'll want to record is the name of each plant species. Like I mentioned, I'm starting with buckwheat, so I'll record the name in my notebook. Next, I want to write down the adaptation this plant has that we're comparing in our research question. So I'll write down that the plant has small leaves. Now I want to check all the caterpillars that I placed on buckwheat plants. I placed 5 caterpillars on my first buckwheat plant, so I'm going to start by counting them all up and recording the total number of caterpillars to make sure I got them all. Then I want to see how many have bird attack marks. So how can you tell if a bird has attacked your clay caterpillar? You're going to be looking for deep scratches, pieces missing, or even just dents in your caterpillars. Here's a few pictures of bird attack marks. You'll want to record in your science journal how many of the caterpillars on each plant species had attack marks. For example, I found 2 caterpillars with marks on my buckwheat plant. Once you've counted the caterpillars with attack marks for one plant species and written down your observations, repeat the process for all of the caterpillars placed on the second plant species. On the next 2 slides, you'll find a list of the types of data we'll need to record and an example of how to set up a datasheet in your science journal to record this data.